Hello everyone, my name is Tulsiram and in this video I'll show you how you can create your virtual machine in Microsoft Azure. So the first thing you need to do is log in into your Azure account. I already have an Azure account. You could get a free Azure account and access the free resources for 1 year using your credit card. So what we did today is, as a user, we first log in into the Azure portal. Next, we are creating a VM and deploying it into the Azure environment. Next, we are connecting to the VM via the RDP, via the file which is generated via the RDP. Next, we are deleting the VM to avoid overpaying for the VM as it's expensive. So the first thing you need to do to create a virtual machine, to click on the resource button. As you can see on the left, you click it and then you need to go to create a resource button and then click on virtual machines. As you can see, there are no virtual machines at present. Now it's time to create one. As you can see, there is a create button here. You could also create a virtual machine using the command line via the Cloud Shell or via the APIs. So to create a virtual machine, just click the create button and you got a bunch of options: Azure Arc Virtual Machine, virtual VM solutions, virtual machine with preset configurations, but you want to create a new one from scratch. So click Azure Virtual Machine. Now wait a second as it loads. Here is your subscription model and here is the resource group. By default, you will have one resource group when you are creating any machine. It comes by default. You could delete it or you could create your new one. I'll use the default one. Now it's time to give a name for your virtual machine. Code on -VM. Next, you could select the region. I would go for South India. It's always better to select the region from where you're working or based on the project that you have. Then you have security type. Standard is enough, but if you have your own security standards, you could do it. Here we are going to create a Windows Server 2016 or 2019. As a 64-bit processor, you can run Azure Spot with discount, so it will charge you less. Now it's time to give a username and a password. Always have a strong username, but for this we are going to use code on user, and for password we are going to give this is code on username and the password. Next is inbound ports. Allow inbound ports. We are allowing RDP as this is a Windows system. We want to connect it directly via the RDP, which is remote desktop connection. You could download this for Mac OS as well. It is available. I'll provide the link in the description. Next is select the disk type. For this, we have different types of this. As you can see, premium SSD, standard HSD, and standard SSD. So always better to choose the premium one, but based on the requirements, you could choose another. It charges you different based on the type of SSD that you choose. Next is delete with VM. So you could click or unclick this option. Usually what it means is when you are deleting a virtual machine, it will also delete the hard drives associated with it. Next is key management. This is platform managed key. You could have your own customer managed key which you can manage in Azure Key Management Services. You can enable ultra disk compatibility, and always remember they'll charge extra for these services. And there are more advanced options like user manage this. Then so our device doesn't support this kind of things, so we'll just skip it. Next, go to networking. So every VM you create will have a own virtual network, a subnet and a public IP, because it has to be connected to the internet to access and all that. So by default, if you are not selecting, it will automatically generate one. You could create your own one from scratch so that you could associate that networks under a particular subnet that you have. Next, there is the public IP. I'll keep it default. NIC network security groups, I'll keep as basic. Public inbound traffic, allow all traffic, because we want to connect to the server. I'll also show you how to connect to the server. Next, delete public IP and NC when VM is deleted. You could select this option as well. Enable accidental networking. It will charge you extra for this, but I'll select this. Next is management. Your subscription is protected by Microsoft Defender for Cloud Basic plan, so that's not an issue. You will have different options based on the plan that you have selected or based on the organization. Auto shutdown is basically when your VM is not being used, it could auto shut down at a particular time or a period, or based on the notification or based on the email. Next is site recovery. If something goes wrong, then it will automatically recover. This will be charged extra, so I don't recommend using this, but based on the kind of tools you have in your organization, you could select. Next is monitoring. Enable recommended alert tools. These are basic alert tools, like something happened to a virtual machine, is it switched on and all that. Enable ghost OS guest diagnostic. I'll just skip it. And boot diagnostic, these are the basic by default, you can just skip it. Now extensions. Now extensions are basically like softwares which are part of the Azure package. You could install all these packages with single click of a button, so like it will automatically install in your software when it spins up. By default you can install it directly when you are spinning up. We don't want any of these tools, so we'll just here you can see custom data. What it means is you could create a custom script to install a bunch of applications and softwares in your Azure. You could learn more about this. I'll also provide the link on how to create these scripts. Next is user data. Enable user data, we don't want this. Performance VM, which means you want a high quality performance VM, we don't want this. Now capacity reservation group, you could select one. Here is the how much capacity you want for the resources, and proximity placement is how near your machine should be to you. Next are tags. Tags are very important when you are creating any VM because it helps you to manage your VM in a variety of ways. You can use epoch time, which is your Linux time system, to delete your virtual machine after 30 days and all that. So we are just going to give it created by, I'll write it Tulsiram. Okay, and all the resources you could select your and all that, no problem. Next, review and create. Now you could download this template and you could directly create a template. As you can see, this is your JSON template that you have. Via this particular template, you just copy and paste in your Azure shell. It will create a same replication of this particular instance that we are creating. We don't want that, so we'll just keep it simple as it is. And this is the amount that will charge you, which is $0.237 US. Here we are basically creating and deleting an instance, so it won't charge you that much. It will only charge you the amount of time it is running. Create here, it will take some time. Now once your VM will be created, again click the hamburger menu, go to virtual machines, and you can see our virtual machine is created. Now if you click the virtual machine, you could find all the resources and details associated with it. So now our instance is created, which is our virtual machine is created. Now it's time to connect to the virtual machine. We can do SSH, RDP and bash term. We want to do an RDP because it's a Windows instance. Now it will download a RDP file. You have to use remote desktop connection tool, which is your RDP tool available in Windows to connect, or you could use the tool which is also available for Mac OS as well. Now if you click the RDP file, it will automatically execute and it will connect. Now it will ask you for the username and password. We click OK. It will ask you for a prompt, then click me again and click yes. Now it will take some time as your machine is booting up, and it might take some time to load up your system. Once we are finally booted up, we are into the Windows virtual machine. Now the important part is when you are closing a window, you don't want to do and power off from here, which is shut down, because if you do so, then Azure will charge you for the Windows or the VM as it is still running. It has not been shut down, so you just need to sign out. Okay, so just click disconnect. You are disconnected. Now to shut down the VM so that you won't be charged, you need to hit the stop button. So once you hit the stop button, it will stop the instance and it will not charge you for it. But if you stop via connected to the instance and shut it down, Azure will still charge you. Now we have shut down the instance, we have connected the instance. Now it's time to show how to delete the instance. To delete an instance is very simple. Again click the virtual machine. Now select the virtual machine which you want to delete and click the delete button. If your virtual machine is associated with something else, which is other resources which are still active, it won't let you delete if it has no delete policy attached to it. If there is no delete policy attached to it, then you could simply delete your virtual machine by typing yes in the prompt and click delete. Now it might take some time to delete the resources. Once that is done, your Azure VM will be deleted. It might take some time. As you can see, the status is still deallocated. So that is how you create a VM and delete a VM in Microsoft Azure. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you did, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. and comment on what topics I should make next. Thank you.